if I would have whispered, you've got 10 years on me, but if someone would have whispered in your ear when you were 17, for instance, around the Sgt. Pepper's time, and said, by the way, you're going to cover that much ground, you're going to cover so much more ground, would that have blown your mind? Would you have been ready for that?
I think it would have blown my mind. I was listening to pop music. I was playing a little bit of guitar and a lot of harmonica. And then in 1965, I heard Segovia plays Bach, and I couldn't work out how that was possible on one guitar. And I thought, well, I'm never going to be that good, but maybe I can take on board an influence of this. So I started chipping away at it. I'm still chipping away at it, Technique is a funny thing, isn't it? You see, you think for a guitarist, ideally you need chops, you need technique. On the other hand, it's important not to lose sight of the fact that the Beatles thrilled us with a minimum of technique. There was not reliance on speed and virtuosity. Their virtuosity was all in the songwriting department. Whether that was marvelous melodies, whether that was vignettes, stories that became songs, those sort of fly-on-the-wall documentaries that were songs like Eleanor Rigby and She's Leaving Home, just to think of two McCartney favourites, not to mention having heard I'm the Walrus for the first time on the radio, on a mono radio, and thinking, absolutely marvellous, wonder who that was. Find out later it was the Beatles. I'm walking up King's Road one day, and I walk into the Chelsea Antiques Market, up to the first floor where there are all these Indian hanging silks, strange music playing. Find out later, that was the Beatles. That was Within You, Without You. Again, complete reinvention. I guess, the fact that they had the world's ear made a difference. Of course, it helps. When everyone loves you, it's much easier to write a really great song, because you start to believe your own publicity, and it's a very nice basis to write something from. If there are adoring fans out there, of course it's a lot easier. But for the long haul, if you're in it for the marathon, which I am, some projects are obviously going to sell better than others. But you've got to ask yourself, what are you in it for? And for me, it's the marathon. I'm not interested in the quick sprint. To have a hit single can be, at times, a positive hindrance. People go, oh yeah, that's what he's all about. That's what peg it at that level. That's what they do. And you can get very much sucked in. Say you have early success in your 20s or your teens, and you can't figure out why, as you improve as a musician and you can do immensely more things, you can't be new. So you've got to work against the fact that you had this tremendous success very early on, and people were saying, well, you can mourn that, because people that find it very hard to catch up with their young selves is a well-known thing. You're shadow boxing, and the shadow's already won. It's faster, it's younger, it's prettier, it's healthier. But then there's this other thing. So this is why I deliberately do things that are completely uncommercial, like this thing, Under a Mediterranean Sky. It's a chance to travel without traveling. It's every track is about a different place in the Mediterranean, and so each song I like to think has got a ghost of a chance with each area. There's a Spanish sounding one. There's something that sounds Turkish, for instance. There's something that sounds slightly jazzy. There's something which is more the region of Azerbaijan and Armenia. And there are things that are classical. But the idea is, to be it's a little bit like being a character actor or trying to do different portraits of regions. Here's a landscape, here's another one. This one's got mountains, the other one's got trees. And try and reinvent what you're doing, but it's essentially escapist, romantic music. But my father was a painter, and he did many landscapes, and this is my way of trying to paint that picture.
The first song, I mean, you start with this beautiful, to me, I felt like almost a sense of travel, and even a slight, like the ominous, like a sense of competition with the Medina. I love that song. Was that always going to be the first song?
Well, yeah, it's Medina. I thought it was spelled with an E, but it's a place in Malta. It's a walled city within heavily fortified Malta, which was in the Second World War. There was a huge siege, the siege of Malta, where people were starving, and but it wasn't the first time that place had been besieged. The Knights of St. John, the invasion of the Pope's troops, all of this stuff, so it was a place that repelled, and it's their harbour is like a fortress. It's huge, high walls, and built to withstand cannon shot. Anyway, Medina, it was either going to be Medina or the third track, Sirocco, because Sirocco is really about all things to do with the desert. It's about the regions that border the desert.